Hey guys, Tom at TPC Racing here with you in this beautiful Saturday morning. Today we're doing a video on installing the TPC Racing side muffler bypass pipe. I'll be doing this on my 2016 GT3 RS. The TPC Racing side muffler bypass pipes are made in the USA here at TPC Racing using 100% USA stainless steel from Wolf Aircraft. Here we have the various stages of completion and the finished product in stock on the shelf. Beauty and function to the last detail. Just look at these welds. Even the weld here is hand polished off for no impedance and flow. The advantages are significant reduction in both static and dynamic weight, reduce heat saturation in the rear tire area as well as the ignition coil area, and of course, better sound. There are a number of videos on YouTube, but I haven't found one that's complete from beginning to the end. So let's do this in the parking lot. We'll be needing a T25 Torx socket to remove both taillights, here, and T30 to remove these 4 screws. With the taillight removed, we have 1 screw at each end here. Takes a T30 to remove. I'm going to use the floor jack to raise the back so I can get to these screws. Use a T25 socket. There's a 4th screw on the inside. You'll have to pull back on this fender liner and you'll see that there's a hidden screw up here. Here's a better view of this hidden screw. It takes a T25 socket. Just as a side note here, I know the previous owners didn't track this car because this paint was perfect when I got the car. So I've done 1 track day, not even 1, just 2 sessions. And this paint is now rubbed off. I'm gonna have to roll the fender or put stiffer springs on this car. Now we're under the car. There are 3 screws per side, so a total of 6. 1, 2, and 3 here. The 6 lower screws are T30s. I'm using a couple of boxes to support the bumper. This gives me the chance to unplug the license plate light connector. Just push and unplug. Now we can take the bumper fully off. This additional cable here is for an aftermarket backup camera that someone installed prior to my ownership. So if you have one of these, you'll have to take extra provisions to take it off. We're back after a long detour. Whoever installed the backup camera on my car didn't put the connector near the back. They put it all the way up the front by the steering column. So I had to take off the carpet from back to front to unplug it so I didn't have to do any cutting. I ended up removing the backup camera because I didn't want it in the first place. So back to the side muffler bypass pipe. We have to remove this bumper beam here. There are 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3 on each side, total of 6. They would take a 13mm socket. T30 Torx screw, 1 on each side. Normally, you don't have to remove the center muffler to put on the side bypass pipes, but notice this is an RS, but it doesn't have a titanium muffler. That's because one of the previous owners before me swapped it out. So I'm going to take this opportunity to put the titanium muffler back in it just because it's proper for an RS. But again, you don't have to take out the center muffler to install the side bypass pipes. Next, we have to remove this side bracket here. 2 nuts here, 10mm socket. There's 1 nut in here that's going to require a long extension. T30 socket for here, here, and then in this cavity here. Now your side mufflers are exposed. For the RS, with the ram air intake, you do have to loosen up this clamp and this nut here to pull back on this so that the side muffler can be removed. Remove these 2 Torex bolts with an E12 Torex socket. Loosen the clamp with a 6mm Allen socket. Don't take it out all the way, just loosen it. And then we're going to loosen all of these nuts with a 13mm socket. We'll now cut the clamp with a pair of cutters. With the clamp cut off, we can now separate the hose. At this point, the side muffler should be pretty loose. The only thing that's holding it is the clamp. So just undo the clamp and be careful not to drop it. With the side muffler off the car, now we're going to transfer the flanges and gaskets onto the TPC racing side muffler bypass pipe. The gaskets can be tight, so it's okay to tap them in with a rubber mallet. Notice I changed the muffler to titanium, so we want the straps to be slightly loose. Having the straps slightly loose to help us guide this on. And now we'll put the clamp back on this, push the gaskets forward into the muffler. You want all the nuts and the clamp started, but not tight. Still loose here. So this way we can go to the other side and have everything started before we go for the final tightening. All the nuts and clamps on both sides are lined up, but they're not tight yet. So now we're gonna go around and tighten everything and then hook up the vacuum hoses. I'm gonna tighten the muffler straps first. So what I'm going to do is center the middle of the muffler tips to the latch. That will give me a pretty good indication of where the middle is. They do give a torque spec for these straps, but I find it to be pinching the muffler too tight if you go by the torque spec. So what I do is I just make them snug. We placed the factory short rubber hose with the provided high temperature silicone hose. You want to zip tie both ends. Repeat the same on this side. Install the high temperature silicone hose to replace the rubber hose. And that's it. We're gonna reverse the process to put the bumper on, and we're done. All right, guys, here it is. Sorry I couldn't get it done in the daylight. The backup camera really took me for a 4-hour detour. I ended up removing the whole thing, as well as the front camera system, because I didn't want it in the first place. The engine has been warmed up. There's no exhaust leaks. I'm gonna do a demo here. 2 revs at 3,000 RPM in normal mode, and I'm gonna let it idle, switch to sport mode, and then give you 2 revs.